Hello, Ryan here, and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday. This is a weekly show which covers all of the news from the week just past. Be sure to subscribe if you like what you see, and let's get on with it. This week, we see the future of derelict spaceships. Pyro's space and stations are coming along well, plus we have updates on the MISC Hull A, the Drake Vulture and Corsair, as well as the Banu Merchantman and RSI Scorpius. So Inside Star Citizen is back this week. It begun checking out the new derelict Caterpillar wrecks that were released in Alpha 3.16.1. Now for Alpha 3.16.1 there are 12 new Caterpillar wrecks placed across 9 of the various moons in Stanton, and each one is completely unique in their layout, but they do share interiors with the various puzzles, rewarding the players with loot. Some of them require the use of a multi-tool, while others may require a bit of clever navigation over obstacles or laser trip mines, and in order to find these wrecks, you need to be taking on missions that take you specifically to Caterpillar wrecks, and potentially some of them could be the new ones. Now I'm not sure if all of the 12 new wrecks are hooked into the missions or whether some of them have to be sort of stumbled upon, but I'm sure over time they will all be found. Now, what I was not expecting on Inside Star Citizen this week was the sort of long-term vision for derelicts, taking a look at some of the concept images of the other derelict ships that the Montreal team have been creating. Now, this team in Montreal were the ones working and responsible for the hospitals, so it is great to see that they are now moving on to points of interest like derelict wrecks, and from what I've heard, the reclaimer wrecks are currently in production. Now long term, they want to create systemic, persistent derelicts that can populate the universe with points of interest. And as they put it, these concept images are to explore what the future of the PU could look like in the next few patches. And with a lot of these concept images, they wanted to explore what spaceship derelicts could look like in various biomes found throughout the universe. Now a lot of these concepts show more like long-term effects of derelicts in certain locations, as the elements take hold, showing that the ship could have been there for years. They also looked into how vegetation can take a hold of a ship, with nature taking over, or a crash site on top of a mountain that has been kind of repurposed as a communication station, or even using parts of a derelict in a swampy biome to sort of build up and escape the tide. Also, when they create the concept art, they want to portray the how or the why the ship crashed. Was it hostile or negligence, etc., creating a story behind the scene. Now I really enjoyed this exploration into the future of sort of hand-placed wrecks and how the various types of derelict ships we will stumble across will populate the planets and moons. It really helps my imagination to run wild, and of course I would definitely love to see more of an in-engine version of these rather than just art, but I have been eagerly awaiting to see what the Montreal team will be working on next. Ever since we saw that Javelin proof of concept wreck, I was kind of hoping that they would work on something like this, as the Montreal team are clearly very talented people, and if we start to see these wrecks rolling out over the next few patches, I will be very happy, as the more points of interest we have, the more alive and expansive the verse can feel, and the more locations we'll have for mission and gameplay content. Anyway, next up we have the first sprint report of the year. First up, we can see the latest work on Lorville's General Hospital, which is called Maria Pure of Heart. Easy to see the Hurston kind of central business district style here. Work also continues on Levski's Mercy Hospital, with Greybox progress on the lobby, nurses station, elevators, insurance, pharmacy, and more. And this will be found in the Nix system once that comes along, so not for a little while yet. Next, we saw the upcoming mining gadgets that are coming in Alpha 3.17, and with the EUPU team, they have now successfully completed the full gameplay loop for them. Now they are just tweaking and bug fixing ready for release. It is quite interesting to see the process of how they work from start to finish, storing them in your ship for when you need them, then placing them on your person, which I do like how they can attach to armor. It'll be interesting to see what types of armor you can attach these to, and maybe they'll create some, or maybe that Grey Cat mining armor will have more attachment points, so you don't have to use the personal inventory to access them, you can just kind of hotkey it. Looks as though once you place it on the rock, you can see all the effects that it offers, and then you'll need to tune it to the waveform to a particular percentage before you can activate it. With this one being the Okunis, it looks like it required a 90% accuracy before you can switch it on. Whether they all require the same 90% or they maybe vary, we will see. But it looks like you also have a button there where you can detach it and remove it. Or obviously when you get the waveform right, you can hit activate and then this will alter the particular requirements, allowing you to mine away. Now it was also mentioned that in many cases, even once the rock has been cracked, you will be able to recollect the gadget, if it wasn't destroyed in the process, of course. Not sure what the determining factor is for the gadget to break, but it is nice knowing that if you're spending over 10,000 UEC on a gadget like this, it is not just a one-use item. A nice new addition that actually allows players who rent a prospector more options on what rocks they can mine, and I am looking forward to getting back into mining and learning more about these. Now, moving on to the vehicle experience team, they have been experimenting with cluster missiles. I assume these are different to the already in-game Rattler missiles. They're basically just looking into it, seeing if cluster missiles like this have a place in the verse, finding a good way of doing them if they do. Plus, they are looking at the potential for cluster bombs as well, where one will break apart into many, creating almost a carpet bomb effect. But due to the systemic nature of Star Citizen, the explosion's shockwave kind of knocks the subsequent drops off target, so they say more testing will be needed before these are added to the game. Now, on to ships. Firstly, we checked out the latest progress on the Drake Vulture, which is the solo salvaging vehicle slated to come in 3.18, with its final art pass on the interior. Here we can see the bridge, the habitation area, processing room and toilet, and it is looking pretty great. Really looking forward to this getting functional in the game, and hopefully it does stay with the 3.18 release window. Salvage will come with it. We will have to wait and see on Wednesday's roadmap update if there are any changes. It's also nice to see a Drake ship up to the current gold standard, as it gives me a bit of an insight into how the Caterpillar will be once it has its gold standard pass, or whatever pass it is that it gets at that time. Now, the next ship we saw was the RSI Scorpius, with its exterior main body getting set up to ensure that all the components, weapons and lockers have a place, and a couple of shots of it with its open X-wing design. Very beautiful. Work also continues on the MISC Hull A as they focus on the more intricate details of the extending cargo grid and the engines at the rear, which look like you can get some good access to them if need be. The Banu Merchantman continues in early white box for its interior, which includes this massive engineering section that is said to have a lot of movement in it. We have kind of seen this concepted before. Plus, it has a brig towards the front of the ship, which I suppose, as you are kind of like a roaming store, if you have an unruly customer or a shoplifter, you could hold on to them until authorities arrive, or obviously deal with them yourself in your own way. But it does kind of make sense to have a brig. Finally, we got to see the Drake Corsair in early white box as it kicks off its building process. Do not worry about the turret visibility. I'm sure that they will address this during this phase. Next up, we saw some more work on spacescaping as the environmental team explores the various Lagrange point looks for the various planets of Pyro. Now, they are looking pretty decent. They're not final by any means, but they are coming along well. And we can even see some sneaky ship silhouettes in the background with this one here and this big one over here. Do let me know what you think these could be. I have heard the first one could be the Endeavour module at the front. The second one, who knows, but it looks big. It was also mentioned that they will be creating more dynamic and recognizable wreck debris for players to explore, which will be a nice touch, having smaller points of interest just sort of littered throughout these gas clouds. Jared did say we are on the road to Pyro this year, and we can expect to see a lot more as 2022 progresses. Finally, we got to see more progress on the outlaw space stations found throughout Pyro, with the interior first, and then the exterior white box, combined with the previously seen spacescaping. And do note the Hab module Shantytown, which is probably where many of the station's residents will be living. I really hope that one day we will be able to buy or rent one of these. It'll be quite fun living in these environments. Anyway, that was it for the first Inside Star Citizen of 2022. A great episode in my opinion, which shows a lot of progress on getting these ships in game, and a look at what shipwrecks to expect in the near future. But with that said, let us move on. So also this week, we had a new Galactopedia update which spoke about the Orion and Baker system, plus much more. Squadron 42's monthly report was released to Spectrum, but I have already covered this in a separate video that can be found by following the link in the description below. We also had a post highlighting what to expect from CIG in the month of February. Again, I have covered this in a separate video which is linked in the description. Talking of which, the Xeno Threat Dynamic event is coming back in February, and to fill you all in on how it works, CIG released a post explaining it. So if you are planning on taking part, do check that post out to get refreshed or up to date with what to expect. The latest jump point is available for all subscribers, and finally this week's Star Citizen Live was with a senior concept artist from the Montreal team, taking us through the process of how he goes about creating the concept images that we saw on Inside Star Citizen for many of the upcoming derelict ship points of interest. Interesting episode to see how it works, but there wasn't enough in there or any information really to report upon, so watch it at your leisure if you so choose. So that brings us to the end of the show. If you do enjoy my content, please consider subscribing and hitting that like button. Also, I am able to do this thanks to my very generous patrons and channel members. If you appreciate what I do and would like to help make it even better from as little as $1 a month, all of the links are provided below.